day. This is Regina's Rabbit Hole, Siren Buddha Medicine. I got this story and I need to get off my shoulders. So, some women are very empathetic or have sympathy for others that are going through a struggle. And there's this weird balance, between really realizing the struggle of your own people and what you've been through and cohabitating with others and having an empathetic spirit. Not unwise, but just caring. And there's others that take that caring spirit or that nurturing female principle and piss all over it. So let me tell you this little story. There is a homeless person living in a parking lot that's across the street, about a few doors down from where I live, from a home that I've lived in for over 11 years. And he lives in a trailer. He's been in there for like maybe 3-4 years. Now, the weird thing is that this guy has to have some kind of affiliations or something because it's illegal to be living in a trailer. But the fact that the guy who owns the parking lot lets him stay there and has affiliations, he's gotten away with it. And the guy owns a bar that's letting him stay. That's his parking lot. So as the years go on, the traffic has increased. You could tell they're doing unsavory things in the parking lot. You look away. You deal with it. Because it's a parking lot that belongs to a bar. And now there's a bum in it. So first you were dealing with a house that was near a bar. And now you're dealing with a house that was near a bar that has a vagrant in the parking lot living in a trailer. And now you're dealing with seeing possible drug deals and stuff because there's a lot of traffic in and out. And you hear arguments and stuff like that here and there. And it's ridiculous. Now, COVID comes in. We're supposed to be 6 feet apart. People are out of work. Bar shuts down. All of a sudden, these guys think that it's okay to pile themselves up behind the bar in the bushes. So you got a little pile of guys in the bushes drinking behind the bar that's closed, where they're doing drug activities. It's a big parking lot with a guy that's a homeless living in the trailer. All this is going on across the street, a couple of doors down from me. It's pretty much across the street. So, I go to the store. So I live in the neighborhood, obviously. I'm cohabitating with this man in a trailer. So I figure I'll be cordial and at least speak to him because he did speak to me. And a couple of years back, I got the scoop on, he told me where he came from and stuff. He's interrupted me doing my qigong in front of my home. That's on video. And so I'm coming out the store around the corner from my house, and he's coming from wherever he's coming from, and he's, like I said, living in a trailer across the street from the house in the parking lot. So I say hello, like a lady would, not just act like you ignore. Homeless people, you hear these little things. I've been homeless in the past. You hear these little clips and sob stories about how they look right past the homeless people and they act like they don't see them and stuff like that. But then when you think about how you get asked for money that you don't have a lot of times, or how you get accosted with conversations that you don't want, when all you wanted to do to begin with was be courteous and say, I see you, I recognize you, I acknowledge you as a human being, but I don't have any money and I don't have time for foolish conversation, period. It gets twisted. So now, let me just tell you what happened. This is how things get twisted and you get aggravated. So I want to make a clarification on a few things. I come out of the store and I say hello like a lady would. And this guy says hi and he starts talking. And he says, why don't you come over and talk with me sometimes? And have a conversation with me sometimes. And I say to him, I don't think my husband would like that very much. He doesn't like me really talking to people. So he says, oh, that's a shame. You know how much sex you miss when you're not able to talk with other people? Now, mind you, I spend my time avoiding this man. And he takes the time when I'm trying to walk past him and he's walking like we're crossing paths, like he's a cat, a white cat, some white cat staying in a trailer in the parking lot, crossed my path when I was leaving the store. You know, cat up the road. And he's a real jerk because I try to be courteous to him. I was courteous to him. And he used that opportunity to be a freaking scumbag. And that's what I want to say, is that they're using our kindness for weakness. When we speak up for ourselves as melanated people, period, they look at us like we're crazy, like we don't have the right to have the same rights and courtesies. First of all, you're supposed to be 6 feet apart, and there should be no loitering, period, let alone loitering during this time. So, if the rest of the population can't do it, what makes a small groups of white men feel like they're able to do it just because the guy owns the bar and they're bartenders? You're not able to do it either, dude. And when a lady leaves her house and there's dudes in the bushes, you shouldn't have to deal with that. And in the same way that these men wouldn't want to see something like that in their home when their wives were leaving their home, let alone themselves on the way to work or on the way to go drink in the parking lot from their nice little homes, you know, where their children and their wives and their grandmas visit or whatever happens there, and they have their family meals. They wouldn't want a group of miscellaneous men, because I don't know you, okay? I know you, and I know of you, and what I know of you is not savory, okay? That's not wholesome. There's drug deals going on. There's arguments going on. There's drinking going on. And you guys are perverts. And you're doing it all right now with a Trump sign up on a truck. So I think that's real interesting how, you know, we hear stories about our president grabbing snatch and, you know, that his wife was an ex-prostitute. And I really can sympathize with people having a past and cleaning it up and doing something, you know, to better their lives. Where's the speeches about women having a different kind of life? You know, where is any of that? And I'm not knocking anybody who chooses that for their life. What I am knocking is the women that don't choose that for their lives being subjected to that just because they don't have a haja on. And even if we did, perversion starts in your mind first. And contrary to popular belief, studying behavioral science, actually it turns men on that are perverted even more when you're covered up, not less. And the reason why is because they want what they don't have. You know, for some of those men, their imagination really goes somewhere wondering what's in there versus being able to see it all exploited, you know. And for some perverts, it's the innocence. It's the fact that you don't want to be exploited that turns them on, not the fact that you do. And so rape and things like that really and mental rape and psychological rape and molestation turns them on. Another thing too is COINTEL and the vital rape and molestation they've done. So we're talking about domestic crime here. You know, the indifference, the blatant, gross indifference that people without the same economic stratosphere are feeling. And that's why I say that melanated men are forced into a position of female submission. Okay? Because you're going to take what it is they give to you, and you're going to take whatever environment they give to you, and you're going to take it raw. You know what I'm saying? And they're going to treat you like a little girly, as it is. And they're going to do that because in their culture, they're wearing short pants, and it's a predominant part of their culture to treat men in a feminized way due to economic and intellectual, educational status. It's a little ball game that they play that we're caught up in. Just mingling together within the culture. And so the blatant disrespect that they don't even acknowledge us as a culture at all, because we're subjected totally to Eurocentric culture that feels like their homes, it's okay to have a nice quiet environment or gated communities and stuff. But then they come out into the community and they do violence, psychological violence, perversions, you know, on others that they don't want to be subjected to themselves. And it's very apparent, extremely apparent, when you look at from a psychological standpoint, the difference in the way that people are treated when it comes to being arrested and within the legal system. If you have more money and you can pay for a better lawyer, or you come from a particular family that has a voice within the community, pays a certain amount of taxes, or has so many employees because they're in caps, because of their contribution economic-wise, because of their ability to pay off, they're able to just tiptoe through the tulips when it comes to the legal system and the logistics. They're able to pay somebody to be able to recognize the red tape and peel it away so that things are more apparent, so that they can do what they need to do, so they can get what we call fair treatment, but it's not fair. That's an untrue assessment. And we know that now when we look at the industry of the institutions, the jailing system, penitentiaries as an institution. Right. The penitentiary as an institution. As evidence. The difference in the way Caucasians are treated when they flip off at the police versus melanated people when they flip off at the police. The lack of tolerance and empathy for us when we get upset, and our facial expressions and our hands waving and our voices being loud, versus their own skin color, looking at them with bulging eyes and yelling red skin and fist in the air and cursing at them and telling them to go F themselves when they're stopped by police officers. You know, one group of people gets the headlock and full of bullets pumped in them. But then again, their melanated skin is a really good harvesting supply for organs and stuff to supply the hospitals with new eyeballs and hearts and whatever parts that they're using. You know, to fill the penitentiaries and to pay the fees, the court fees and stuff like that, to get their little boys and girls out of jail, to pay the lawyers, to let people think that there's a really good industry in going to college to be a lawyer and become public offenders where they really can't do anything much for people. Hence, being told that truly melanated person is only considered human 3/4% of the law. And so when you bring something into the court system, they play these little games and stuff, you know, with your avatar. Because we really don't know what's up when we're in there. You don't know you're not really being considered as an entire human being, and you have a whole corporate system representing itself against you, which is not even a human being. So, the corporate interest rules, and if you don't have any business interests, there you go. And so when you have, I said all of this to say, and considering when you have made a formal complaint to the police department about a group of men standing in your parking lot across the street from where you live at, and you've paid rent for over 11 years. Could be closer to 13, actually. And as a lady, my skin crawling, just rolling the scenario back in my mind, like, are these European Caucasian men, are they actually thinking that that's cool to stand in the trees drinking in a group across the street from a melanated person's house with a Trump sign up? Black Lives Matter? Like, they look at me like I'm black. I'm melanated. I'm enlightened. I'm a light code being. I'm a spirit being and a light code being and an intellectual being, carrying the spirit of the Most High within me before I'm anything else. And then I'm a lady who's been through a vast experience here on the planet. And part of that is my ancestral history. Is my history that I'm going through right now. And the history that my ancestors have went through. That has been made very apparent within the American culture and worldwide. Or slavery and all that. You know, the very premise that makes Caucasians feel like they're better than us, melanated folks. Because we've been subjected to what they call higher authority according to Darwinistic, perministic theories that don't hold up when it comes to people holding a flame throughout the world of morality. They don't add up. They don't weigh. You either have morality and truth, or you have what they've been displaying in all this time. So you have intellect, morality, and truth, where you can recognize and coexist with others. So you consider others. You have empathy. Just like I considered and I acted out being empathetic toward the Caucasian man staying in a trailer for years in the parking lot. When you consider how much within our culture you see how important it is for Europeans to have a certain status of living, you know, They want their environment clean or quiet or safe. They don't want to feel threatened by anything. You know, to uphold the laws and to be law-abiding citizens. To think of a group of men just like, you know, here we go again. Like, what message are you showing me? First of all, that I don't matter at all. Not as a woman, not as a melanated person, not as a person paying rent in a house across the street from a bar. That you can't follow the rules of a bar. You got to be extra special and very tacky. And let your bartenders congregate behind the bar in a parking lot during COVID, drinking. In the bushes with a Trump sign on a truck. What are you advertising? What are you saying? Leaders of the world. I'm being sarcastic because I really don't look at you like that. Like thieves, pirates, magicians, sorcerers. I don't even want to give you the title sorcerer because guys are really being ignorant. Oh, yeah. It's repugnant. I like that word to describe this situation. Yeah, the stench has reached up to the high heavens. And you guys have done your job above and beyond measure. We'd like to thank you very much for doing your job. And now, your carcasses are walking about the planet, claiming intelligence. And your Houdini trick is now over. And, yeah, we're tired of smelling that. Clean it up. If you can beat the clock. If you can beat the clock, by all means. Run for it. I mean, the more wholesome, loving, empathetic, truthful people we have on the planet and in the spiritual realm, jolly for you, the better. Hero. But that other stuff, it's going to be fuel. Like fertilizer never did smell too good. But it is food for some really cool stuff. So play on. Enjoy the time you have left. Make sure you keep all your hands and legs inside your close to your vehicle while we're flying through space. And I will not wish you good luck. I will say to those that are vibrating on the same wavelength, much love to you and yours. To those who are empathetic and are tired of these dirt bags taking up space and feeding us their crap, like let's just thank them for that, because we grew. However, they're trying to feed us the meat from the table of sloth. From the cup of the harlot. And we're trying to eat the light code, the life force from the table of the Most High. And your stench doesn't need to be tolerated anymore. So we'd like to thank you for your service. The garbage that you fed us has been really good fertilizer. And pretty much those who need to learn that we're all connected and we need to have empathy are on that road already and doing their due diligence to shed the lies and the decrepit programming that you fools have distributed into the Matrix program. And to the rest of us, those of us who are doing that, doing our very best to love one another during this time, teaching each other, shaping each other, learning to trust each other. Thank you. That's the only thing that I see, that I want to see, is you. That sweet smelling aroma of the Most High's people. And what we need to know, melanated folks, is that, yes, there's been a priesthood and a lineage, but we don't get that unless we behave above and beyond measure. Which means that we need to be able to recognize the programmings, the decrepit programmings that have been here. It's not enough to initiate the same kind of behavior that's been accosted onto us. And that's what they want us to do, to get so furious and angry that we do to them what they've been doing to us. But it's not necessary. Their very genetics will cave in on themselves as love enters the planet, and they have none. The corresponding frequency is not there. When wisdom hits the planet and they didn't cultivate it, and then all they do is steal, it'll be like the GMOs, where there'll be missing connections, and the DNA or the circuitry in which they very mind tried to uphold the information will collapse on itself into insanity. And that's what we see going on right now, is the madness, because they did not have the vessel to be able to hold the flame and the light code frequency of the Most High. And the Most High are those essences which consider all of us. It is us. It is what we are made of. And is already coexisting and working in unison with each other. Fire, water, earth, air, and ether as an entity within us as a representative to be able to hold the flame of the Most High. Higher thoughts, higher learning, higher representative, are the most highest people. And so we must act accordingly. They want to lower us and drag us down. That's what they've been doing, putting these decrepit programs in us, filling us full of fear. I mean, they even eat it. When you think of the adrenochrome, when you think of the cannibalism, when you think of the pedophilia and the fear, like, to get off on filling people full of fear, this whole thing is domestic. It's domestic crime. It's rape. It's molestation. It's an entity. It's getting off. It's getting off on our people. We carry a kundalini, and the kundalini is also a life force. And that life force has an array. You know, there's a life force when it's dying. There's a life force when it's youthful. There's a life force when it's learning and it has information. There's a life force when it's birthing. There's a life force when it's sharing. There's a life force in an enmeshment. They're using all these different kundalini experiences, variances against the populace. Lust, desire, the life force when you want. That's a direct stimulus, like geared to your response systems. Like when you're hungry, and you think of food like Slavic dogs. I don't know if I got the exact word right. Sometimes I have so much information in my head when I go to think of the exact terminology, or I may miss. But there was this experiment with these dogs that they did, and I picked up in psychology, where they fed the dogs at a certain time and they rang the bell, and the dogs' mouths would salivate, and so their bodies would get used to eating at a certain time, and the first response would kick in, and that's the salivation, the saliva, and the now that's an interesting equation I just made. Side note, saliva and salivation and the putting the tongue at the roof of the mouth in order to suck the life force down when you're doing when you get bliss. Back to what I was saying with the dogs. So, they got us priministic, behaving on our animal tendencies, not thinking with our higher mind or with our hearts, even, which is even a lot more intelligent than our minds, because we think we're so smart. And that's why the laws and the principles is important as a guideline. And the main one is to consider those around you, in so many words. You know, when you realize what the Most High is as a life force, then you respect that life force in others. But there's a lot of people around us that are not going to respect that. And it's just very frustrating as a human being to be maneuvering through so much crap. So many lower frequencies. And I cry, and I get it out, and I express what I'm feeling in order to say to someone else, I get it. Whoever is feeling this too, I'm going through it with you, and I just want you to know that those that are trying to break this cycle, and you're dealing with all these other entities, these demons, these people who have allowed themselves to be taken over by these lower vibrational frequencies. You know, I really feel for you navigating through this cesspool. It's high seas now. And strong tides. Shoot. With the heat of these demons burning through these fleshes, these vessels, it's like a tsunami. With the 5G and all the suggestion, it's like a tsunami. With the sun's rays on blast during this astrological alignment, it's hot. And so there's a part of you that wants to spark off. I know, I do too. And sometimes I do get it out, dance, stomp, yell into a pillow, take up boxing, do Tai Chi, figure out a martial arts or something, arts and crafts, whatever it takes for you. Figure out what nutrients that you need. I found out, this is for us, that, you know, I was realizing I was getting so stressed out lately, and that I haven't been getting, I stopped taking the vitamin B in the bottles, the artificial one, and started getting more sunlight. But sometimes the sun is a little lower. But when I'm high stress, I probably should just go ahead and pop those vitamin B's in the artificial kind in a bottle, you know. And I need to hydrate a lot more and take a lot more minerals. Remember who you are, that we're dealing with spiritual warfare. And so we fight not against flesh and blood, even though they're inside these people who have flesh and blood. But they're gone. They're just like swept away. I don't know. If you ask them why they're doing the stuff that they're doing, they probably wouldn't even know. It wouldn't have a really good answer. Or they would have like a cloned answer. One that they were told to say, like the news reporters, when you hear them saying the same thing. Because they were fed that. Like, are there real people actually in there? Have you seen the clips of people with the voice-to-skull technology? The people have been being taken over by this, like, computerized thing. Like the Wendy Williams thing. Where, now it has to do with it's similar technology to the, all this is interconnected with the spiritual warfare, because they're using the technology too to help them by placing thoughts in people's heads. And if there's no empathy, if there's no concern for the people around you, it's very easy to do that. You just adopt that as your own, because you don't give a blip anyway about other people, or your prejudice or your bias about something. That program will utilize that. Be aware of your own biases and check them. And then be aware of the struggle regarding those biases, like homeless people. Or remembering, oh, that's what I wanted to say. Contrary to popular belief, this all fits together. with the historical Akash. Caucasian men feeling like melanated women want them. That's been a fantasy that you guys painted for yourselves within the media. Stop lying. A lot of us, the ones that are actually thinking for themselves and have not adopted the matrix programming, like that you always putting on the TVs and stuff, like you guys believe that a lot more than any thinking, empathetic lady that's melanated. Like, we might speak to you and talk to you because we empathize with, you know what I'm saying? We all gotta like eat and there's a grind going on and there's things that we all need in the world. That's intelligence. That's Ma'at that we carry within our spirit. An intelligence to be concerned about the people around you. But that's not an attraction sexually toward you. And I personally don't understand that because of what I've been through historically. It doesn't turn me on when I know that you've hung some really good, beautiful souls from trees and killed them and harassed them. When I see the indifference that I was just talking about with the police and the arrests and stuff and the court system, when I see the indifference and I mean, like, it's just like, it's putrid. It just like runs through your culture so much that many of you don't even consider how you're hurting us when we still carry the wisdom in us to consider how we may be hurting you. And it's not okay. And it's not attractive. And so, there's nothing that I wouldn't, there's no Caucasian man that looks that good to me or has that much money that I would be willing to fight all that spiritual energy to get at you, to touch your, in an intimate way, like to really get off on that and like it. Past all that spiritual energy. But I can pay you courtesy. And the reason why is because I see all that energy there. You know what I'm saying? I adore and I empathize with those men that have to stand next to you and they're actually have tapped in to the planet, to Ma'at, and recognize what you're doing is totally destructive and disgusting and putrid to the Most High, because they have plugged in, because the Most High gave them a pipeline. But what I want to say is that it goes through the Most High's people first, and that our people were assigned genetically through a bloodline, that you guys tried to thieve away for a period of time through illusion of perception. But we've woken and we know what you've done. And we see you, and you really should go on somewhere now because, the look is really bad. Yeah, and there's nothing you can do about it. Even if you try to take the flesh away, which you have using that Shern computer and traveling through time, and you can keep resetting all you want to. But the bottom line is the simulator die. Literally just be deleted. No hereafter like us. We carry the spiritual Akash and memory or feelings or talents and abilities of those who came before us. And it's a beautiful feeling to know that, I can carry some of the empathy and experience and talents and abilities of my grandmother and my grandmother's grandmother with me, and be aware that I'm doing that as I walk through my days. and whoever they were cool with, that I can feel the presence, that it's okay to be cool with them. And whoever hurt them, to be able to carry that energy in my blood as a marker to keep myself safe and my children safe and the people that I love safe. And there's other people that are plugged into that are not melanated. And I empathize with those people because they plugged into a strain, a spirit, a kundalini, an energy, a desire. They plugged into a desire, a pure desire that you decrepit people will never know because you don't want to. You enjoy that stuff. You enjoy prejudice. You enjoy perversions. You enjoy the lower spectrum of energies and have become addicted to it, addicted to thinking that you're cloaked, addicted to hurting people and spying on people and using covert activities, addicted to thinking you're powerful, addicted to your own egos. You guys are eating yourselves. Add to if I didn't realize where I was and what was happening, I would have thought that you guys were a whole bunch of niggers, as you called us, hanging out, drinking in the bushes. Those pictures and stuff that you Eurocentric like to depict so much through media, instead of developing better character so that you would have better people within your cultures and societies, so that you could teach your children the value of human beings all the way around. You use that tool, that learning tool, that ancient media system of theater and acting as actually a learning tool to keep people within a very childish, low-grade state so that you could control them. But you did it to yourselves too. You've trapped yourselves in a world full of ignorant, decrepit, low-grade thinking people. And then you're looking around for substance that doesn't come from you. It came from us. It came from our people. But you stole that, and now you're looking for the substance from something that you stole, but it's like you don't know the why it was created. You don't have the real desire of why it was created that would make somebody make something so beautiful. You know, the reason why people put certain arts and talents and abilities within a culture, or certain technologies within a culture, is like, say you make something because you want to help people, because you want to help people understand themselves, help connect to you better so you can make better cultures. But it's the person who doesn't understand that takes and turns a technology inside out and uses it only to control people. I mean, it's all a form of control, whether you do it, say, for a betterment, an enhancement, and spiritual development for a higher plane, or whether you do it for a lower realm so that you can exploit people to feed off of their sexual energies gone wild, gone out of control, because that's what you've cultivated within the culture. You know, it's funny how now the same people that are making the books that say that the culture has depravity are the same ones that put the depravity there deliberately so that they could point at it as those who are without depravity. But it's a magician's trick, a sorcerer's trick, that I don't even want to call him sorcerers, actually a magician, because it lacks wisdom. And choosing melanated folks to accept the corrupted programming doesn't work either, because then they forfeit the spiritual connection to actually really want to help people for a higher good. And that's the only way that the melanated folks that were called to be the priests and priestesses are actually going to be able to really benefit us within our society and the world. So if we're not looking for higher thought and higher good, and to be able to help us all grow, develop, and change, then we can't do it at all. It'll turn in on itself, the technology, and you'll get what we see now, taken over by demons. Your computer, your vehicle, your vessel will be taken over by corrupt programming. And that's what happened to me. I had to fight to get back. And every day is a spiritual war to stay in a particular place, because we do fight against principalities and spiritual things in high places. But they're only high places of this world. There's other things much higher and much more powerful that have also entered our world now. Thank goodness. So, I had this talk to say what I needed to say. Yeah. No spiritual being carrying a light code is going to be attracted to somebody walking up to them and telling them that they should be upset that their husband doesn't want you to talk to people because I'm missing out on all the sex that you could have from talking to people. On the contrary, I avoid talking to people because all you sick people think about is sex. I got other things to think about. It's aggravating to me. So which one is it? Do you want people that think, oh yeah, and as on another turn, as being a woman, if you carry yourself on a higher space, it's a weird space. Like, okay, you're not all garbed, right? But you ain't dressing like no hooker. You're not carrying yourself in a disrespectful way. You carry yourself with respect. But you're around a whole bunch of... I do see why women will totally cover themselves up. But like I said before, that does not help. I don't care how grungy I look, how much I cover myself up, or how... There's always a pervert. So the bottom line, the only recourse you do have as a woman is to realize, to figure out how to handle yourself. And just let people, just don't come at me like that at all. And then they call you a lesbian. They'll say that you're aggressive because you're not playing ball, because you don't want to play with their balls. They'll say if you speak your mind, you're tacky, inappropriate, and you're not being a lady. And then when you're being a lady, they'll try to attack you with their perversions. And if you speak your mind and you speak up for yourself, they'll say, well, why were you in that place and why were you speaking to that particular person? And then if you say, I was being empathetic, I was being cordial, it's always something that you shouldn't have done, that you could have done different. Likewise, Is it the same way when you look at the melanated man dealing with the judicial system? They tell you guys all the same stuff too. You should have did this. You should have did that. You might as well have a dress on. And guess what? A lot of you do now. And that's why I say that the melanated man has been forced into a position of female submission. And that you've taken whatever it is they give to you. Shoot. Well, the alpha man has been corrupted. The image of the alpha man has been corrupted. He's the one that looks like he's carrying the agenda of the Jesuits. He looks like he hates women. Sit down there, little lady. Keep your mouth shut. I got it. And if I don't got it, you just don't get it. If it ain't something that I want, you can't have it. You know what? If you're married and you married young, say, we don't have dating and all that kind of stuff within our culture. Our what do you call it? Matchmakers and stuff were very important in the ancient culture. They lined up the partners astrologically. I see how important that was. Not to be frivolous with your spiritual energy, with the person you're going to be sharing your domain with, sleeping with. That's a lot of spiritual energy. You know, your lucid dreaming, your dreams period, your life dreams, your goals, your sexual energy. Be very, very careful. So they took that away. And if you're with somebody that you hooked up with when you were on your young, wild, and free trip, when you were brainwashed, and then you wake up and you become enlightened, and you get a little taste of Ma'at, little taste of wisdom, little taste of the Most High, of Yah, of the Holy Spirit, and speak to you. I don't know what you want to call it, or what different variances that you've experienced of it. But I know it exists. And your partner doesn't get to experience that. Doesn't have that. It's not in their DNA. It's not in their vessel to do that. You have a real issue. A real issue. And that's going on with the corruption of the alpha male stereotype. Okay? The alpha male is not afraid of women. And I don't think that men who are brought up to be secure with themselves, to achieve their own goals, to not compete with women. Oh my gosh. And compete with women, I mean, like, if I have a thought, allow me to have my thought. What's wrong with somebody having a different belief? Or even what's wrong with somebody living in a different way, or choosing to have different goals and aspects and things that they want to cultivate and develop outside of their partner? And if we're in a society where we parent each other, or we partner up in many cases with resources and skills, that's what I'm saying. We're being slighted. You know, the males in our society that are supposed to be the head of us for melanated women are being told to sit down and shut up, like they're the women. And contrary to popular belief, it should have never been that way to begin with in regards to men and women. So not only are we dealing with a blatant lie that men and women were supposed to be sized up, that the male and female energies were supposed to be depicted in that way. When we look at the Jesuits and when we look at so many things in the media, in our society, in the way that they depict male and female energy. She's evil. She's so many things that are lustful and lying and deceitful and trickery and all this stuff. And the male is depicted as the one that's being entrapped in all this. It's the man that's asking for it. He's calling it to him. He's magnetizing these things. He's telling us what he wants and what he doesn't want. And then when we give him what he wants, he says, look at how decrepit you are. Or he says, why don't you loosen up? And if you say, listen, I don't like either ends of the spectrum, to put it on, the garb up, or take it all off to become a whore. I don't like either one of those scenarios. Can I find a little place, a little island even? You know what I'm saying? A little building away from that. You know what they say? No. We want everything you got, and we don't want you to develop yourself. Matter of fact, we're afraid of you. We're afraid of women. We don't want you to do anything over there on your own. And doggone it, I think they treat the melanated people exactly the same. They don't want us doing any kind of organizations on our own, like we're little children. Like the men are the children of the government of the world. All melanated men. And to your women, that makes you look like you're depicting a female principle on a macro scale. As an observer, from a psychological standpoint, and one who has studied psychology and sociology, I'm telling you, and one who has dealt with a lot of street things, so streetwise, and decided on my own to clean up my act, whereas seen others who decided to stay where they are, or maybe they don't have a choice, that's just their genetic makeup. They're not carrying that light within them. And when you have a choice, being faced with either people who don't want to move out of the way and want to subject you to the decrepit treatment, like the men in the bushes, in the trees, with alcohol, as if that wouldn't jar historically, thinking what's the next step, especially with where America is right now. A few drinks more, and one bad incident, and we could have somebody hanging from those trees across the street from my house. It escalates. First there's a bar. Then there's activities in the parking lot and back of the bar. Then there's a bum. I'm going to call him a bum because he acts like a freaking bum. Not just a vagrant or a homeless person. A human being that needs a hand or some empathy or some understanding, but a bum. Because he carries himself, its conversation is trash. Living in the parking lot. Then drug activities in the parking lot. But now we have a congregation of men during COVID meeting in the parking lot. And so I'm using that for a metaphor of an escalation. What's next? There was a Trump sign, were they eating? We're one step away from a picnic, not a cookout, a picnic. Pick a nigga and hang him. You already picked a melanated person's house to break the law and hang across the street when you're supposed to be 6 inches apart. Not even supposed to be congregating like that. Not even supposed to be drinking in public, let alone in the freaking bushes. Or loitering. And the bar is shut down. Deal with it. Go drink in back of your own houses. Go drink in your own backyards. Go find some other place where there's already people who are being ignorant. There's already niggers. not Nagas. There's already ignorant people drinking alcohol. Go figure out what your local melanated person is doing where we're in the drinking hole. And say hello to them. Meet your neighbor. And the fellow people and society that you had your nose up. Go meet them. Go make a new spot. You know? And if they can get herded away and carted away and shunned and depicted as useless eaters, then so can you with that behavior. Because there wasn't anything morally or intellectually, there was no contribution there. You know? And if Make America Great Again was bringing us back to when melanated people became hamburgers, you know, when we had cookbooks that were telling you how to make medicines out of our melanated skin and stuff, then I'll have no parts of it. I'm not a meat eater. Get it? No parts of it. Yeah, we don't want to be shish kebabs anymore, metaphorically, physically, or spiritually, for your decrepitness. And your barbecue, your cookout. I mean, not cookout. What was it? Your picnic. Yeah, your picnic barbecue stuff. Stench has reached up to the high heavens, spiritually, metaphorically, and physically. And with that being said, yeah, I'm not liking that part of you. Not at all. Yeah. So, for my brothers and sisters who really can empathize with me and understand what I'm saying, much love to you and yours. And if you don't and you got mad, well, you just got mad. I'm out. Oh, please feel free to like, subscribe, share, and donate.